Terrifying secrets. 8 sinister trails in Appalachia revealed hidden horror stories exposed. In the small Appalachian town of Pine Hollow, a gaping maw of dread waits within the shadows of the forest. Whispers tell of 8 trails steeped in malevolence, each step a descent into hidden terror. As autumn stretches its skeletal fingers across the land, Cassie Thompson feels an unsettling chill creep into her marrow. Pictures her daughter, Lily, has drawn shadowy figures darting between trees stick in her mind. What innocent imagination can conjure this? Yet, as Cassie walks these overgrown paths, the air thickens, suffocating her like a shroud. She shakes off the dread, focusing instead on the community around her, the warmth of neighbors in Pine Hollow, the flicker of streetlights illuminating friendly smiles. But those lights feel dimmer now, the laughter from her porch fading into distant echoes. As darkness blankets the town, something unsettles the stillness. Laughter turns into screams, a haunting symphony that chills her to the bone. Owls hoot eerily, their calls tinged with desperation. And as the tendrils of night wrap tighter, stories slip from trembling lips, disappearances always someone else, never their own. With every name that fades, Cassie's heart races, panic clawing at her throat. Inside her home, the pages of old town records whisper curses from generations long past. What kind of monsters lurk in these woods? Stories of vindictive spirits and lost children have her stomach twisting. Could she protect Lily? Each sketched shadow seems to giggle at her, teasing her, mocking her very existence. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The annual Mountain Harvest Festival arrives, an explosion of color and laughter amidst Cassie's growing despair. Yet, as the bonfire crackles, shadows flicker and dance, she loses sight of Lily. The other children laugh, but her body freezes, heart galloping in a full sprint. Panic washes over her as she shouts her daughter's name, her voice swallowed by the suddenly menacing woods. She bolts toward the forest's edge, her breath-quickening branches tearing at her clothes as if the woods themselves envy her urgency. Lily! The echoes mock her, twisting deep into the trees. Then she stumbles there, half buried in the underbrush. A rusted pocket watch catches the fading light. Its surface is engraved with names, each one an echo of heartbreak and despair. An icy shiver runs down her spine as the shadows deepen. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the darkness, his face familiar yet distorted, the beloved mayor's smirk, lips curling as if he knows her deepest fears. Cassie's heart drops, a soundless scream trapped in her chest. Behind him, the branches of the forest twist in anticipation. What do you want? She gasps. The woods hold their breath, and Lily's distant voice fades into oblivion, as a sickening realization dawns. She stands on the edge of the abyss, trapped between the twisted tales and her desperate need to find her daughter. Will she discover the true evil left buried in the bones of Pine Hollow, or is she destined to join the ranks of the missing, consumed by the very shadows that haunt her nightmares? Cassie's heart pounded in her chest, the familiar face before her now twisted into a nightmarish grin. The mayor, once a man of trust, now seemed like a gatekeeper to a world of darkness. The rustling leaves whispered secrets she never wanted to hear. "Where's Lily?" she demanded, trying to push back the wave of nausea rising in her throat. He only chuckled softly, the sound echoing ominously through the chilling night. "She's just taking a walk on one of the trails." His voice dripped with mockery, each word sending a shock of fear coursing through her. A visceral chill washed over her, igniting her protective instincts. "You have to help me find her." Cassie felt the ground shift beneath her, as if the forest was alive, moving and breathing dark intentions. The mayor's smirk vanished, replaced by a hard-set jaw. Once the darkness takes hold of this place, it doesn't let go easily, he said, turning his back to her, fading into the shadowy trees. Some things are better left hidden. The silence left in his wake screamed louder than the laughter from the festival, now fading far away. Don't leave me, she cried out as she stumbled after him, but the woods consumed her voice like a predator choking on its prey. Cassie hesitated, breath shallow, skin crawling with every rustle around her. She could either chase after the twisted revelation of her town's leader or turn back toward the flickering light of home where warmth still held a semblance of reality. But Lily's laughter echoed in her mind, a gentle pulse both comforting and haunting. She couldn't abandon her. Bracing herself, Cassie plunged deeper into the forest, blindly following the whispers of the leaves. Each step felt heavier, the shadows closing in as if they bore witness to her descent into madness. Lily, she called again, voice cracking, but the forest swallowed her words. Glimmers of something moved through the trees, silhouettes darting just outside her vision, teasing her in the corners of her sanity. Were they children, spirits from stories told to quiet trembling hearts? Or nightmares turned flesh? As she pressed on through the underbrush, her hands were trembling not just from fear, but a creeping certainty that she was being watched. Cassie stumbled upon a clearing. In its center stood a gnarled old tree, its base wrapped in ragged, tattered cloth. Patches of faded dolls hung from its branches, faces frozen in terror. Beneath it, stone markers lay half hidden by roots, names carved long before her time. Goosebumps traced her arms. It felt like a mausoleum for lost souls, a place where dreams turned into whispers of the damned. "Mommy?" A voice, faint and fragile, floated through the night, a lifeline that pulled her from the brink. It was Lily's voice. Cassie bolted into action, heart racing, tearing toward the sound. "Lily!" Panic surged through her. But as she neared the tree, the shadows closed in tighter. The whispering escalated, the forest seemed to be pleading or taunting. "Cassie," the voice echoed, and for a moment, the shadows shifted, revealing a figure in a white dress. Her daughter stood just behind the tree, illuminated by the ghostly light of the moon. "Stay back!" A wailing cry erupted. It wasn't Lily's voice anymore, it was something dark wrapping itself in her daughter's innocence. Terror clawed at Cassie's heart, splitting her focus between the luminous child and the darkness swirling around her, hungry for a soul to consume. "Mommy!" Lily reached out, face twisted between fear and a smile, as if she were trapped in a play that had turned grim. Cassie felt time freeze with each tentative step. What lay between them was not mere distance, but an invisible boundary forged by the wood's wicked hunger. And the deeper she went into this wicked place, the more she felt the forest stretching for her too, shifting its roots, ready to snatch her into its grasp. "Don't you see?" A voice hissed from the branches, "Their games are deadly. They play only with lost things." Every instinct told her to turn back, but she couldn't. "I'm coming!" she cried, but her feet felt glued to the earth, weighing heavy with the burden of fear. The shadows curled closer around her as she stepped into the cleansing glare of the moonlight, fighting the pull of despair. What horrors were entwined in this madness? Could she brave this whispered hell to save her child, or was it all a cruel trap set to ensnare her soul? The forest, a living creature, shuddered with anticipation. And the next revelation waited just beyond the shadows. Cassie's grip tightened on the damp ground as she felt the air grow colder. The darkness thickened around her, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket, pressing against her chest. "Lily!" she shouted again, desperate, voice cracking like a twig underfoot. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, a countdown to the moment she might lose everything. As she fought to move closer, the shadows shivered, undulating like a living thing. They were not just concealing her daughter, they were alive, writhing in anticipation, feasting on her fear. Cassie's mind raced. The mayor's warning haunted her: once the darkness takes hold, it doesn't let go. Get away from her! She screamed, but the words fell flat, drowned in the profound silence that followed. The figure behind the tree wavered again, and Lily's face shimmered like a reflection in murky water. "Mommy, help." Her voice was a haunting lullaby, sweet yet twisted, a call steeped in a desperation that sent ice coursing down Cassie's spine. Time seemed to dissolve. Cassie could hardly decipher where she ended and the forest began. Blackened branches clawed the air, like skeletal fingers begging for release. She wanted to run, to escape, but the twisted roots dug deeper, anchoring her in place. The whispers grew louder, shifting in tone from pleas for aid to laughter sickeningly childlike, echoing through the night like a death knell. "Mommy." Lily's voice broke through the clamor, stronger now, but tinged with an unnatural edge. "I'm scared." The sweet innocence cracked, revealing something darker. Something that did not belong. The dolls hanging from the tree swayed gently, their lifeless eyes watching, judging, waiting. Panic surged within Cassie, bubbling over into a primal instinct. She had to reach her daughter before whatever darkness loomed devoured them both. "Stay there. I'm coming." Cassie fought against the grip of the shadows, forcing herself forward, step by agonizing step. The closer she got, the more the forest seemed to tighten its clutches, the trees bowing inward like an audience to her impending demise. Just as she reached the edge of the circle of moonlight, the figure of her daughter flickered again, revealing a faint shadow lurking behind. The voice twisted, bleeding through Lily's gentle tone as it rasped, "Leave now, or join us forever." Cassie's breath hitched. The threat wrapped around her like silver strands. The previous tales of lost children flared in her mind. The town had whispered of spirits, lost souls wandering their desires. What if Lily was among them? Had the darkness already claimed her? "No. I won't give up," Cassie shouted, her heart racing. She lunged forward, arms reaching, but as she crossed the threshold, a force slammed against her, pulling her away, dragging her into the depths of the night. The forest erupted in laughter, discordant and maddening. Her vision of Lily blurred as the shadows clawed at her limbs, tugging her back from the precipice of hope. In that moment of despair, she felt an urge, a pull toward something deeper rooted in darkness, a sickly bond forming between her and the nightmare beneath. The sound of cracking branches echoed as she fought against the tugging, desperate to escape the grasp of despair. But the more she resisted, the stronger that connection grew, a bond forged in fear. "Mommy." The voice rang again, sharp and exhilarating, and somewhere in the dissonance, Cassie knew she was running out of time. With all her strength, she steeled her resolve and screamed into the depths of the darkness, "You can't have us. I will find you, Lily." The shadows froze, and Cassie felt a momentary clarity. But just before she could break through, a piercing shriek filled the air, raw and agonizing. It wasn't just a sound. It was a warning. And in that chilling moment, Cassie realized she wasn't alone. They were all watching. What unspeakable evils dwelt in this desolate place? And could she truly save Lily, or had she already lost her? The shadows quaked as the moonlight flickered once again, revealing more than just her daughter's face. The forest hungered, and the darkness was just beginning to unveil its true forms. What remained hidden in the shadows waited, just for her. Cassie's heart thundered like a trapped animal in her chest as the shadows shifted, coalescing into forms that loomed and wriggled in the dim light. Fear surged through her veins, icy and electric, as she cast desperate glances around, searching for the source of the maddening laughter that circled her. The flickering moonlight played cruel tricks on her senses. Was that a face? No, just a branch. She squinted harder. Yet the next whisper twisted her stomach into knots. "Join us," it cooed, a chorus of voices sewn together in unison, both childlike and ancient, both begging and demanding. "Lily!" Cassie screamed again, but her voice felt like thin glass, shattering in the thick air. Pain lanced through her chest, each breath was a battle against the encroaching darkness. The shadows pulsed closer, a tide of black, dragging her down into a pit of despair. And then she saw it, the outline of a small figure, unmistakably Lily, gliding between the trees. But it was wrong. The light wavered, casting a grotesque mask across her daughter's face, contorting the innocence she knew so well. "Mommy," the voice emerged softly, yet it echoed like the tolling of a funeral bell. "No. You aren't my daughter," Cassie cried, her heart breaking. The silhouette of Lily flickered again, each pulse of light revealing something sinister lurking beneath that familiar guise. Cassie tasted bile as dread consumed her. Was this some twisted manifestation created by the forest? Behind Lily's silhouette, something crawled out, an amalgamation of limbs and shadows. A grin stretched across its face, revealing jagged teeth that glimmered like polished bone. It reached toward her, its fingers elongated and claw-like, drawing closer and closer to its prey. "Mommy, help me!" Lily's voice now trembled, and in that moment, the veil of innocence fell away entirely. Cassie's stomach twisted at the sight before her. The true horror wasn't just the creature creeping closer. No, it was the realization that this could be her daughter, twisted by the darkness, pleading for aid. "No, no," Cassie whispered, stepping back instinctively, but the roots beneath her feet curled tighter, holding her in place. A horrific whistle split the silence as the shadows tightened their grip, lacing around her like a serpent, each inch constricting her freedom, her hope. "Join us!" the chorus rose, now accompanied by shrill laughter, and the trees around her seemed to nod in agreement, their gnarled branches beckoning her into the abyss. What were these things? Were they lost souls? Lost children? Cassie felt sweat trickle down her back with panic. The fear of losing Lily morphed into a fight for her own soul. She couldn't succumb to this malevolence, couldn't let it take her. She needed to remember. "Hold on. Lily," she shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony with fierce desperation. "If you're in there, if you can hear me, fight it. You have to fight." A tremor rippled through the shadowy figure. The laughter diminished momentarily, replaced by something softer, weaker. "Mommy, help." The plea came again, resonating with pain. The thing behind her daughter's form seemed to writhe and shift, as if Cassie's words struck a chord. But the shadows quaked with anger, the air thickening as the dark presence coiled tighter around her, angry at the disruption. "No more games!" The chorus screamed, their voices intertwining in a horrific melody. "We will take what is ours." Cassie surged forward, spurred by a primal instinct that defied the darkness. Hard as it was, she banished doubt. Eyes locked on the flickering figure, she pushed through the fog of despair. "I believe in you, Lily. Please, come back to me. You can do this." In that moment, the shadows recoiled, releasing their grip just enough for Cassie to surge ahead, arms outstretched, not willing to be pulled back, not now, but as she reached for her daughter, the shadows recoiled, revealing a mass of faces, lost children, eyes glazed and hollow, as they whispered together, "You shouldn't have come here." A new, deafening roar erupted, tearing through the forest. As the bond between Cassie and the shadows sparked, flaring with a vicious energy. She gasped as the ground beneath her trembled, the forest seemed to awaken, enraged by her defiance. What connection had she stumbled upon? What unspeakable truth tied them together? The shadows thickened again, swirling like a storm above. As Cassie dove forward, everything turned chaotic. The laughter, the screams, the whispers, resonating like a funeral march, and in she plunged, into the maw of darkness, blindly searching for the flicker of light that might still be Lily. But what would she find, buried inside? And at what cost? Cassie's fingers grazed the familiar fabric of Lily's shirt as she lunged into the swirling abyss. Hope clung to her like a lifeline, yet shadows engulfed her, pulling her deeper into their suffocating embrace. The world around her warped into a kaleidoscope of shapes, a nightmarish beauty that dazzled and terrified at once. "Lily!" she cried out, her voice echoing, bouncing back toward her, mingling with the ethereal laughter of unseen spirits. The ground quaked beneath her feet, soft and yielding as if it were alive, pulsating with sinister intent. Each heartbeat thundered louder in her ears, mixing with the cacophony of twisted voices. In the heart of the blackened storm, a light flickered, a tiny, fragile flame. Cassie surged toward it, defying the weight of despair that sought to drag her back. The laughter transformed, morphing into anguished wails. Was she pushing toward salvation or doom? Just as she reached the light, the swirling shadows recoiled, revealing a scene that froze the blood in her veins. A spectral playground lay before her, a ghostly replica of the one Lily used to play in, now draped in tattered, torn fabric and shadow. There, sliding down a rusting slide, were the wraith-like figures of children, their faces twisted in jubilation, yet their eyes burned with sorrow. "Join us," they whispered, their voices a haunting lullaby. "We play forever here." Cassie staggered back, fear gripping her throat. "No. You lie. This isn't where Lily belongs." The shadows closed in, morphing into a squiggly mass, pulsating with malevolence. From its depths, the silhouette of her daughter emerged again, clearer this time. But behind her, the grotesque entities writhed, their intentions dripping with malice. "Mommy, help me!" Lily's eyes gleamed with a desperate light amidst the murk. Cassie felt hope bloom in her chest but quickly choked on it as shadows spiraled around the girl, feeding on her essence, swirling about her like dark vines, squeezing tighter. "Lily!" Cassie lunged again, battling against the suffocating grip of despair. The air thickened, suffocating her instincts to scream. She needed to fight back. This was a fight for her child, a fight against the horrors that craved her spirit. "Fight it. You're strong. Remember the princesses? Remember the stories?" The wind whipped angrily around Cassie, mocking her. The shadowy tendrils recoiled momentarily, as if considering her words. Lily's form flickered, and for a heartbeat, Cassie glimpsed the real girl, the laughter, the innocence, a flash of warmth in the icy darkness. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by another guise, twisted and monstrous. "But this is where you belong," the shadows hissed. "You can play forever." Cassie's blood ran cold. "No, Lily. You're not lost. You have to resist." She reached out, feeling the warmth of the light flicker in her own heart. "You have to come back to me." An eruption of chaos engulfed them as the darkness convulsed, shaking like an angry beast. The sorrowful children spun in a frenzy, their laughter now desperately clinging to madness, tears streaking down faces that should have smiled. Cassie gasped as she felt the suffocating ties of the dark entity loosen for just a moment. "Mommy!" Lily cried, and her voice rang clear beneath the weight of shadows. The darkness wavered, and Cassie lunged forward, desperate for that flicker of connection, yet, behind her, the whispers crescendoed, a torrent of lost souls drowning out her plea. "Join us, you can't fight it. Let go. Become one of us." Cassie's world tilted, her soul ached. What monstrosity lay at the center of all this? Was Lily's essence slipping away forever? "Not if I have anything to say about it." Cassie screamed defiantly, the last threads of her strength coursing through her. She would not give in. As she surged ahead, the visions twisted, reality warping. Would she find Lily, or was it already too late? And the shadows tightened anew, hungry and impatient, ready to reclaim what they believed was theirs. What would she have to endure to save her daughter? And who would she become in the process? Cassie's heart raced as she pushed against the tide of darkness, each beat a reminder of her connection to Lily. The shadows whispered sweet lies, enticing her to give in, to abandon hope. But her resolve stiffened. This battle was far from over. With every step, the air turned icy, wrapping around her like squeezes of fear. The spectral playground expanded around her, becoming a kaleidoscope of horrors. Swings creaked eerily, though no wind dared disturb them. The laughter of children turned sour, twisting into groans that echoed in the hollow night, combining with desperate cries for help. "Mommy!" Lily's voice tore through the chaos, a fragile thread in a storm, reaching for Cassie. "Please, I'm scared." Cassie surged forward again, pushing through the suffocating fog. "I'm coming, Lily." Her own voice trembled, but determination coursed through her veins. She could not abandon her child to this nightmare. But as she stumbled closer to the sound, the ground beneath her seemed to open. She felt herself dragged back, heavy shadows clinging like damp wool. "You can't save her," they howled. "You must listen. She belongs to us now." "No!" Cassie screamed, fighting against the pull with every fiber of her being. Desperation fueled her movements, but the darkness was relentless, wrapping her in coils of despair. As Lily's playful visage flickered in her mind, another face joined it, twisted but familiar, the grotesque form of a child corrupted by the shadows, stretching mouths in an eerie mockery of smiles. "Join us," it droned, arms reaching out as if inviting her into the abyss. The sight sent a shiver down Cassie's spine, her breath hitching in her throat. "Lily!" she called again, forcing her voice against the enveloping wretchedness. "Fight! Remember the stories. Remember the warmth of the sun." The shadows trembled, holding their breath, as if both intrigued and irked by her words. "It won't work." Another voice hissed out from the darkness, a deeper growl, malevolent and chilling. "You think she can remember that warmth? She's ours now." "No. I won't accept it." Cassie's fierce cry rang out. "Lily, my love, you can find the light. You are stronger than them." As if summoned by her call, the flickering light from earlier surged forth, bathing her in a soft glow that sparked from her heart, a beacon in the overwhelming gloom. The shadows shrieked, recoiling, their whispers rising to frantic crescendos of fear. "Come back, Lily," Cassie urged, her voice infused with strength, urging through the cacophony. The visage of her daughter wavered again, eyes blinking in confusion, turning toward Cassie at last. The shadows hesitated, caught between the mother's bravery and their dark desires. Suddenly, the playground twisted, morphing into a nightmarish labyrinth, each wielding haunting echoes of laughter that were now tinged with rage and sorrow. The darkness shook, tearing at the seams of reality, the very fabric of the world warping. "Mommy!" Lily reached out, her form struggling against chains of darkness, her face shimmering with fear. With a final surge of will, Cassie broke free from the clutches of despair that gripped her legs. She hurled herself toward her daughter, but the labyrinth changed again, pulling them apart, the abyss now a gaping maw. Shadows thrashed wildly, and for just a heartbeat, Cassie felt the warmth of a real hand brush against hers. The excitement of rescue filled her, but it was fleeting. Reality snapped back, and the connection severed as darkness clamped down around Lily with ravenous greed. Desperation clawed at Cassie's heart. What would be left of her if she lost Lily? She couldn't let herself be consumed too, she wouldn't. As she stood there, dread pooling in her stomach, the shadows roared with laughter, a chorus of sinister glee that pierced her resolve. "You will join us. You can't fight what you cannot see." Cassie shivered. It felt as though something greater loomed behind the shadows, a force much older and crueler. How deep were these nightmares rooted? Was there a way to sever the connection, or were they eternally bound? To this dark fate, in that dark moment, she vowed, lifting her chin defiantly. "I will find you, Lily. I will break this curse, whatever it takes." The ground quaked again as if challenging her, but her determination shone like a beacon. She could not falter, not now, not ever. With that thought, the swirling darkness fumed, and she gathered her strength for the battle that lay ahead. But in the depths of the chaos, something stirred, a watching presence, lurking. What lay in wait, watching and waiting, poised to strike? Would she find the courage to confront the ultimate darkness that loomed over her? The shadows whispered, hungry for her fear. Cassie's pulse thundered in her ears as her resolve crystallized into a weapon against the encroaching void. No retreat. No surrender. Each footfall was a defiance, a declaration of her will. The darkness twisted around her, fingers stretching, aching to pull her down into despair. But she pressed on, images of her daughter lighting the path ahead. "Lily!" she screamed, a captivating howl that stripped the air of silence, sharp and desperate. The familiar silhouettes of playground structures now bore grim faces, their eyes bulging with malicious intent as they swayed ominously, mocking her. The shadows snarled hotly around her, their whispers slithering with dread. You think you can save her? You're too late. The cacophony swelled, vibrating within her bones, wrapping around her soul. But Cassie drew upon a well of courage, forcing concentrated light through the fissures in the dark. Suddenly, she stumbled back as a figure erupted from the depths, a tall, haggard creature with hollow eyes. It twisted, distorted, and the very essence of nightmares manifested. Your guilt feeds us. It bellowed, voice slicing through the fog. Cassie fell back against a slide, gripping the groove like a lifeline. They can't take her. Fear and rage battled within her. I won't let them. Barely holding on to the flickering light in her heart, she inhaled the cold air. Memories of laughter, splashes of summer, and tight hugs ignited a fire within her. As she stood again, Cassie's voice rose, more powerful now. Lily. Follow my voice. I believe in you. Each call thrust against the darkness, reawakening shadows of strength that lay dormant. Around her, the negative energy seemed to recoil, causing the air to pulse and churn. The creature's face twisted in a snarl, contorting into an abomination of hatred. You think memories can save her? You are weak. She is lost. The mockery in its voice chilled her, but anger flared hotter. Suddenly, the landscape warped like a bad reflection. The swing set bubbled and warped, blending into a grotesque scene, children laughing in agony, visages warped into cries of despair that blurred her vision. Stop! Cassie yelled, charging forward through the chaos. But instead of finding Lily, she crashed into a wall of darkness. It pushed her back, a suffocating blanket swarming, aiming to smother her resolve. The ground heaved, and Cassie felt the playground pulsate beneath her, a living organism of dread, and just as she thought retreat was inevitable, she spotted a flicker of light far off, an ethereal glow pulsating with familiar warmth. Cassie fought to focus, heart pounding, momentarily drowning out the spectral horror whispering just beside her ear. Look to the light. She whispered, trembling but resolute. The light pulsed again, urgency thrumming through her chest. She turned, determined to barricade herself from the dark warning that ebbed and flowed behind her. Racing towards the glow, the shadows hissed in rage. You can't leave. She belongs to us. Lily's voice pierced through, untainted by the darkness. Mommy. Help. It dripped with innocence, and Cassie's heart squeezed painfully. Was her daughter still fighting? With every ounce of strength, she surged forward, desperate to reach that glimmer of hope. Tendrils of despair lashed out at her, their clammy touch like ice. Cassie dodged with the deftness of a mother's love. Fear flickered within her, but it was overshadowed by sheer determination. Just as she was closing in on the light, the oppressive murmur of shadows enveloped her fully, just as the ground dropped beneath her feet. Cassie clung onto the phantom glow, and the darkness howled like a storm. No. We won't let you go. It was a chorus now, and she could feel their combined strength pushing against her efforts. In that moment of tumult, Cassie realized that this was not just a battle for Lily. It was a fight for her own soul. Never had she felt so burdened, yet so alive. She screamed, "If you want her, you'll have to take me too." The shadows recoiled as if wounded, their hideous delight momentarily dimmed. But Cassie had no time for victory. The void roared back and her feet slipped into a murky abyss. She reached for the light desperately, her lungs filling with darkness. What if it was all a trap? Would the darkness devour her will completely? As she fell deeper, Cassie could only grasp desperately at the echo of her daughter's voice, "Mommy." It sounded distant now, fading with every second. Was she truly losing the battle? Or was the next step merely the prelude to something far worse? As she drifted into the unknown, the darkness erupted with laughter, bracing itself for what was to come. Cassie tumbled through the void, the darkness swallowing her whole, more suffocating than any nightmare she had ever imagined. Time stretched and twisted as shadows twirled around her. She felt weightless yet burdened, a cruel dichotomy that played havoc with her senses. Then a sudden jolt. She hit something solid, the ground jolting her back into reality. Dazed, she blinked against the sharp glare that broke through the haze. The dark shifted, forming into a twisted forest. Gnarled trees loomed overhead, their branches clawing at the sky like desperate, skeletal fingers. A chilling breeze rustled the leaves, whispering secrets she dared not uncover. "Mommy?" The familiar voice, small and fragile, drifted in the frigid air again. Cassie's heart quickened, a frenetic drumbeat echoing in her chest. "Please, Lily." She darted forward, propelled by the echo, weaving through the maze of trees. Shadows flickered past her, darting behind trunks and slipping away into the darkness. Were they watching her? Waiting for an opportune moment to strike? "Where are you?" Her voice trembled, wavering in the oppressive quiet. With each step, an uncomfortable awareness crept over her. The forest was alive, breathing, pulsating with an ancient malice. The ground felt sticky beneath her feet, and she feared what might be drawing her into its grasp. A sudden rush of wind sent the leaves spiraling around her, swirling like a tempest. Cassie stumbled, the forest abruptly swinging from ominous to chaotic. Shadows converged, pooling thickly. She realized they were forming shapes, faces of those who had disappeared, wretched and tormented. "Help us!" A chorus erupted, a cacophony of voices that blended into a discordant symphony, reeking of despair. "Save us!" Cassie pressed her hands to her ears, trying to drown them out, but the sounds clawed at her sanity. "Stop! Just stop!" She screamed as the wails grew louder. They filled her head, drifting through memories and regrets. Their cries morphed into her daughter's voice, weaving between anguish and hope. "Mommy! I'm scared!" Her raw scream felt like a shard of glass in her throat, but she couldn't just stand and wail. Not now. The forest closed in around her, its sinister whispers becoming tangible, like gnarled fingers brushing against her skin. Cassie surged forward, propelled by the unyielding need to find her daughter. Each step felt like walking through quicksand, but she clawed her way through, determination heavy in her bones. She could not be lost. Not again. Branching paths split in the fog, every choice seemed fraught with peril. But something, a flicker of movement, caught her eye. A figure darted between the trees. "Lily!" Cassie cried, squinting against the gloom. "Mommy!" The voice was softer now, a mosaic of echoes bending in the breeze. Cassie lunged forward, heart racing with hope but tinged with trepidation. The figure stood still, shrouded in shadow, but she could feel it, Lily's warmth breaking through the chill. "Just a bit closer," she whispered, nearly paralyzed with anticipation. Then it slipped away. The moment hung in the air like a suspended breath, a cruel reminder of how close she was yet so far. Panic clawed at her throat. Lily's laughter bubbled through once more, a sound distorted by agony, teetering on the brink of mirth and despair. "Catch me, Mommy, before they do." Cassie pushed deeper into the darkness, fear morphing into unbridled adrenaline. Would she lose her child again? It could not end like this. She had fought too hard already. An icy gust caught her off guard, spinning her around. The shadows played tricks on her, morphing into familiar figures flickering in and out of existence. Friends. Family. Each face taunted her, reminding her of the connections she'd once treasured, the life torn apart by grief, loss, and guilt. "No!" Cassie's voice burst forth, filled with fierce defiance. "Get away from me." But as their eyes locked, understanding broke through. They were not just manifestations, but embodiments of her own torment, her fears come to life. "Join us!" they chorused, reaching out for her as she stumbled back. "We can help you find her." But the clutches of despair tightened. In that moment, it dawned on her she had to break free from them. They would drag her down into the depths if she allowed it. And so, with a raw, desperate scream, she flung her hands open wide, willing the memories to be released. The ground quaked violently, shadows swirling in fury, their angry whispers rising into a tumultuous roar. "You cannot leave us." She stood firm. "I'm not afraid of you." The shadows recoiled, the forest quivering in disarray. And as they erupted in fury, Cassie found her footing in the chaos, clenching her fists, racing toward that ghostly echo of laughter that twinkled just out of reach. And as the darkness roared behind her, a thread of panic flickered within her. What awaited her if she turned back? Would the shadows take her daughter from her forever? Suddenly, a blinding light exploded in the distance. Was it a way out, or another trap? Mommy. What if the light was the illusion, a cruel trick to draw her away? Were her fears manifesting, or was it actually Lily, waiting for her? Caught in the trembling moment, Cassie hesitated, feeling the darkness clawing at her heels, closing in fast. How could she choose between the light and the daughter she fought for? Time was running out. Cassie hesitated at the threshold of light, her heart pounding like a storm in her chest. The inability to decide gnawed at her. The shadows writhed behind her, an orchestra of murmured threats and pleas that clawed at her mind. She could almost feel them, cold, clammy hands brushing against her legs, urging her to turn back, to join them. "Mommy." The voice propelled her, a tune like a haunting lullaby through the thick fog closing in on her. With a primal scream bursting from her lips, she surged toward the light, blind to the consequences. The warmth enveloped her, wrapping her like a tender embrace, and for a brief, miraculous moment, the shadows fell away. In the brilliant brightness, Cassie found herself in a clearing, a stunning juxtaposition to the terror surrounding her. The grass was lush and vibrant, sprinkled with delicate wildflowers swaying under a soft breeze. "Lily?" Her voice seemed swallowed by the fragile beauty. She scanned the area, panic embedding itself in her stomach when she saw no sign of her daughter. "Mommy." The call echoed again, a melody of laughter mingling with the distant sounds of wind chimes. The familiar giggle stirred something deep inside her, yet what was this enchanting space doing in such a tormenting forest? "Lily!" Cassie shouted, frustration spilling over. She stepped forward, each stride feeling strangely heavy. The beauty of the place twisted into dread as the laughter grew distant, a mocking sound teasing her further into the depths of the grove. Then, shadows converged on the edges of the clearing, grotesque shapes creeping ever closer. They crawled on all fours, their faces shifting between familiar and foreign. The figures were almost human but marred by malevolence, dripping with the sorrow of the lost souls they represented. "Join us," they whispered, a choir of regrets beckoning her with twisted, supplicating hands. "No!" Cassie cried out, clenching her fists. "I won't give in to you." But the shadows pressed forward, their whispers snaking in her ears, their words wrapping around her throat, squeezing tighter. "The light is not what it seems," one figure crooned, its voice slathered with dark seduction. "Maybe you should stay." Cassie's breath quickened, her instinct screaming at her that she was being lured. She turned to bolt back into the light, but where it had once warmly embraced her, it now flickered as though it, too, were in peril of fading. "Mommy, hurry!" "Lily!" The cry broke through the fog of despair, a lighthouse in the storm. Cassie dashed, energy surging as she dashed toward the last echoes of her daughter's voice. The laughter rang out again, mingling with the laughter of the shadows, a twisted harmony that threatened to shatter her resolve. Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled. Roots rose like serpents, grasping for her ankles, dragging her down. Cassie stumbled, falling onto her knees in the soft grass, but she couldn't relent. She stretched out her hands, digging her fingers into the loamy earth, pulling against the darkness that yanked her back. "Lily! I'm coming!" With every ounce of willpower, Cassie yanked herself free from the grasping roots, managing to rise. She flowed forward through the clearing, her pulse pounding in her ears. Was this a mirage? Was it genuine? But the moment of hope was a cruel trick. The clearing twisted, darkening as shadows engulfed her vision. The light faded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of foreboding. And then, everything went silent. Emotionless gray filled her senses as the forest around her writhed with malevolence. Her heart sank. What awaited her on the other side of this uncertainty? Was there truly a way to rescue Lily, or was she destined to remain trapped in this labyrinth of torment, swallowed by the despair of the forest? With the shadows closing in, the echoes of laughter now distorted screams, Cassie knew the time for hesitation was over. The darkness surged forward, and she could only run toward the last echoes of her daughter, praying she would not succumb to the beckoning despair as she dashed forward. A single whisper penetrated the murky silence. "You have to choose now." What was the choice? And what would it cost her? Cassie felt the weight of the world shifting around her as she fought against the tides of darkness, her heart pounding wildly as time stretched and warbled. "You have to choose now." Those words echoed in her mind, twisted and cruel, demanding a response she didn't know if she could give. The shadows writhed, agitated, closing in tighter like a noose. She could feel their clammy fingers tugging at the edges of her sanity, but a flicker of warmth ignited within her, a faint, shimmering reminder of her daughter. "I will find you, Lily," she cried, a declaration of defiance against the gathering storm. Suddenly, Cassie spotted a glimmer in the darkness, a flickering silhouette that felt impossible to ignore. "Mommy! Help me!" Lily's voice rang clear, and hope crashed through the fog of despair. She turned, propelled on adrenaline, sprinting toward that sliver of warmth shining through the shadows. Several sinister forms loomed in her periphery, their grasping hands clawing for her, yet Cassie's resolve hardened. "No! You can't take us." Each step felt more powerful, a physical declaration of her will, reverberating against the darkness that threatened to consume her. As she plunged into the heart of the shadows, Cassie felt the world around her tremble. "Join us!" The echoes droned, their combined voices rising into a tumultuous roar. "You cannot escape." But she couldn't stop. She pushed through the thick web, each heartbeat igniting her spirit. "Lily!" She could hear her daughter's laughter cut through the rapture of malice like a knife. The flickering light grew stronger, pulsing, alive, beckoning her forward. The darkness seethed, but this was no longer only about her daughter, it was about love, her love for Lily, and it was powerful enough to shatter any chains of darkness. Then, like breaking through thick smoke, Cassie burst into a clearing alive with an ethereal glow. The shadows dissipated, swirling backward as if repelled by the light. The beauty of the moment took her breath away. The vibrant colors twinkled like newly sprouted flowers, and the air felt sweet, invigorating her weary spirit, yet in the center stood a figure, her Lily, tethered by dark tendrils writhing around her small frame. The shadows clawed at her, whispering twisted taunts. "She cannot be saved," they screeched, their voices laced with fury. "No!" Cassie gasped, taking a step forward, but the shadows lashed out, threatening to pull her into their abyss. Panic gripped her gut, but love surged through her heart like wildfire. "Lily! Fight it!" she shouted, pressing against the wicked grip of despair that wrapped around her daughter, constricting tight. Mommy Lily's voice quivered, and in that instant, Cassie saw the glimmer of the daughter she knew, innocent, playful, and brave. "I believe in you," Cassie cried, reaching out with every ounce of strength. "Remember the stories? Remember how we fought dragons? You are braver than the darkness. Don't let it win." Lily's form flickered, wavering between light and shadow. The darkness shuddered, burrowing deeply into Lily's essence, as the girl struggled against the creeping malaise. Hope pierced the despair for both of them, filling the air with brightness that pushed back the shadows. "I'm scared," Lily cried, and that fear, so raw and real, spun Cassie's heart into a painful twist. "Fight, my love," she shouted, tears pouring down her cheeks as she took one final step forward. "You are strong. We are stronger together." She lunged, arms extended, ready to break through any barrier standing before her. In that moment, the darkness whipped around them violently, snarling, twisting, threatening to claim what it believed was its. No. Join us. They howled, urging the fight into a violent crescendo. Cassie felt a surge of light blossom within her, unfurling the love she had held for so long. With her voice at its strongest, she roared, "We will not be part of your twisted games. We choose life, joy, and love." Both warmth and power flooded the clearing, pushing back shadows that retraced their steps as they shrieked and howled in fury. The weight of Cassie's love shattered the bind, illuminating the darkness in a brilliant blaze. And then, as time snapped back into focus, her arms wrapped around Lily, pulling her into an embrace that felt like home, a promise, a connection that darkness could never sever. "You're safe now," Cassie whispered, the tears flowing, embracing the warmth of her little girl. As the light surged, shadows slinked away, their whispers fading like echoes on the wind. In that moment, they both felt it, the love that could conquer any terror, binding them stronger than any chains. Nothing would claim them anymore. The forest around them fell silent, once again inhabiting its beautiful, vibrant form. The horrors that had ensnared Pine Hollow's trails began to dissipate, returning to the stories that haunted the townsfolk but were no longer shackled to Cassie and Lily. "Mommy." Lily's eyes sparkled, free from fear. Cassie smoothed her hair, the weight of terror lifting, leaving only an indelible bond of love. "Let us go home," Cassie said softly, holding her daughter, feeling every heartbeat against her own. As they stepped through the light into the familiar warmth of Pine Hollow, Cassie looked back one last time, watching as shadows fell away, releasing their hold. They were freed. If you're still here, now's the time to act. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't let yourself miss exclusive stories like this one. Smash the like button now to feed that algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And come on, don't hold back, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the thrill of this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support, and trust me, only true fans understand the importance of taking action. Don't wait even one more second.